A scale. You're going to need a scale, any kind of scale really. You're going to need Parasoy blend, which is what I have. You're going to need fragrance oil or a carrier oil. The carrier oil needs to be a light oil. You're going to take, what we're making is the base for candle sand. So what we're going to do, we're going to put our jar on the scale and zero it out. Then we're going to put in 1 pound. This is the Parasoy blend. Get a little helper. If need be, we're going to put, because this is not a wide mouth jar, we're going to zero it out. Then we're going to put in 1 pound. And I'm going to make sure that it holds the 1 pound. Come on, 1 pound is, jeez, you can't hear it, but I can hear it. There's all kinds of tiny little beads going everywhere. This is, oh, dang it, 1 pound, which is 16 ounces. So, now that I know that it holds it, this is what I'm going to do, because I want to do, you know what, it doesn't matter. Yeah, it does. Yeah, it does. This is why. This is what I want you to do first. We're going to take, because this is a Parasoy blend, it only holds to 5 to 6%. Holds actually a little more. You can actually go 8% fragrance oil, but what we're after is the color. You need something to carry. You need something to carry. I feel like I should be looking down. You need something to carry the color through all of this to create like a sand. So what we're going to do is we're going to put it in here first, and I'm going to use 5%, which is 0.8 ounces. This is 16 ounces. 10% would be 1.6. Half of that, which is 5%, which is 0.8. You can do, an ounce. It'll hold it. So what we're going to do is we're going to put the jar on here. We're going to zero it out. Then we're going to take, like I said, I'm doing this for my blog too. And we're going to pour .8. See how thick that is? Doesn't have to be exact. I need a paper towel. I don't like getting fragrance oil all over stuff. Undiluted, it can be kind of bad. So I'm going to show 0.8%. Then I'm going to take whatever color I want. Now this is going to be the tricky part because you're not going to see the color in the end. But I'm going to take, like I said, I changed these. because they were so friggin' messy. And yeah, I'm writing work instructions at the same time. This is orange. The whole point to do this, I'm going to stir it around. This colorant right here. Okay, we're going to stir it around. You're going to kind of coat your jar with it. You're going to see why in a minute. I don't want to go up too far. And I'm going to put instructions on the blog, and we're just going to verify. And this doesn't have to be like super exact. It'll still work. Then, and it does smell good. You're gonna pour. You're gonna pour this in here. This wants to slide around. These little beads are everywhere. Now you're going to put the lid on. And this, you're going to let it sit. You're going to shake. You're going to let it stir, and you're going to let it sit, and you're going to let this wax absorb all that fragrance oil. When you're curing candles, what's happening is the wax is absorbing it. So we're going to let these pellets absorb. You see how it's stuck to the wall? Actually, I could have used a bigger jar, or we can do like a half a pound. Which would probably have been better. So let's do a half a pound. So we're going to take, that was 6 drops. That's orange. We're going to take a half a pound would be 0.4. So we're going to do half. This will probably work out better. Let's do this. So we're going to do 0.4 ounces. Because that's how much oil, when you're making a candle, remember you're doing, let's do, use a lot of blue. Let's do let's do burnt. Let's do, let's do burgundy. The other thing too is we're only doing a half a pound. The Parasoy doesn't like the liquid dyes as much, but the dye chips, you'd have to melt it down. When they make these pellets, what they do, now we're only going to put 8 ounces in here because we're only doing half a pound. We'll give it room to shake. Doesn't seem like a whole lot. The pellets are like sprayed onto a drum that cools. It's like everywhere. smells good though. It's a fragrance, smells good. Now we did the burgundy dye. You'll be able to see it better. This is a half a pound. You got more room to shake. And it's gonna stick. And it's like, oh crap. But this has to sit. And that this is how you make candle sand. The only other way to do it would be to spray it on a drum and and get fine crystals. But what we're doing is we're coloring it. This actually needs to sit upside down. We're going to let this wax absorb it. The other thing too is it does smell really good. You can't see it. I'm going to take a picture of it. Let me come up close to the camera. Right now it's pink. See down inside there? That is going to stain your little pellets, because these are like little tiny, where are you at? Little tiny pellets. Like sand. It's the consistency of sand. So what we're going to do is we're going to let this fragrance oil and the colorant sit. Because when your candle is curing, that's what it's doing. It's reabsorbing everything. And this is a burgundy color, which will, we'll have to stir it and stuff. We'll have to go in there with a spatula and stir it. But we're going to let it sit for a bit. This one's quite full. That was probably a little bit too much. This orange, because there's no room to shake it. So, and I don't, this is not a whole lot. So if we do, you can do, let's see, let's do, 12 ounces instead, which is 1.2 for 10, which is 0.6 for fragrance. I don't think we need any more pictures at the moment. So we're going to zero out again on our scale. We're going to go 0.6. And we're going to do this blue. I'm going to do like 6 drops of blue. I'm doing the blue. We're going to give it a turn. And that's just so that it's not all stuck at the bottom. We're going to zero it out and we're going to put 12 ounces. See if we got enough room in there. It's 10.8, which is close. So that gives us, a little bit more. This will take a couple days too. That's why I'm making it now. I won't be able to use this until later on. It takes a long time for this to absorb. But once I'm done, I'm gonna go back through and stir it with like a spatula or something. You gotta kind of let it, mix together. So we're gonna do, I definitely want a red. Oop. Well, I want a yellow too. So let's do yellow. Get some more of our sand. This is how you make candle sand. And if you don't want to fragrance it, you gotta use a carrier oil. like a vegetable oil, something that you can burn. I just figure, you know, if you're making a candle anyway, this is called odor eliminator. It smells like laundry, fresh, which is, to me, is really nice. So, what did we say? 0.6? Come on, 0.6. There we go. I don't like candles that don't have a smell. Like I said, I'm going to put on my blog step-by-step tutorial of where I get stuff. That was oil. Ounces. Oh, this stuff is like everywhere. You can hear it. Can you hear all the little beads? Probably need a better picture. But I'm already committed, so like I said, it doesn't have to be exact. This was a little more than 12. Put the lid on. Shake it around. It's a good project for kids. Shake it around. Coat that. We're going to coat this wax with this colorant. That's what we're after. Make sure the lid's still on. We're going to shake it up. Let it sit. Let's see. What color do we got? We got to do green. We have to do green. So we're going to do some green here. Zero it out. .6. Now keep in mind, if you're doing this and you're not using a fragrance oil and you're using like a vegetable oil or something, the wax is only going to hold so much. So if you use a carrier oil instead of a fragrance, you may run into an issue putting the fragrance in. But if you're doing it this way, and a parasoi, one of the nice things is a lot of times it'll hold more fragrance oil. So if you're using a carrier oil, like what I'm doing here, just, you know, our whole goal, and we're going to have to go back and revisit this to see how much it'll actually coat and see what color it looks like. We might have to adjust it. And we might have to use, you can't use alcohol, but you might have to use a little bit of oil. We've already put in our fragrance oil. The wax is only going to hold, it's only going to absorb so much. And then it's pretty much done. All you're doing is coating it. Look at all the static electricity. Right now, what's happening too is there's some big clumps. It's clumping up is what's happening in the jar, because it takes a lot. It's 12 ounces for it to bind. Not a lot, but I mean it's got to sit. If you're not heating it up, what normally takes time for your candle to cure is going to take a little bit longer for your candle sand. We'll have to revisit this too. You can also do this with any wax that comes in a pellet form. You can do it with flaked wax too. If you want to sell colored flaked wax, it's just a matter of stirring it, you know, in. I'm going to do a true red here because when we do our candle art, I want all the colors. So for like this blog post, it's going to take a while because this is going to take time to sit. Whoa. That was a bit much. I don't know that you could color all of this with just the colorant alone. You gotta have something for the you know, to carry this colorant. The colorant's very potent. It's much better than I was before getting like wax and or not wax, but colorant and you name it, nothing. No, I was getting it all over me. And I switched. I bought some of these bottles with droppers on them on Amazon and put all my colorants in that because I was making a mess. This is my red. We're just stirring it up. Okay. Now we got 6 different colors here. Seems like it's going to take an eternity, doesn't it? But it doesn't. You gotta let the wax find its place there. And now we got holy smokes. Oh, it's worse than sand. That's how you make candle sand. Now, what they do too is when they take candle sand, most of the time is sold as paraffin wax or a parasoy blend. Most of the time it's a paraffin wax. In baggies you get different colors. What they do is they heat up the paraffin wax. Maybe I can find a video on it. And they have this huge drum. And what they do is they take the melted paraffin, they color it, then they spray this drum that's cooled, like water cooled on the inside. And when the paraffin hits there, the mist turns into beads. That's how they do paraffin anyway. So when you see even beeswax, it's the same thing. This, how they make pellets, they heat up the wax, they probably filter it and everything else, but these are all pellets. What they do is these get sprayed onto a drum and then scraped off. That's how paraffin pellets and stuff are made. I'll have to share that because I've seen it. I think I've actually seen it on YouTube. It's the same thing. If you were to take any of these, the parasoy, beeswax, any kind of wax, beeswax is a wax. It's just made from bees. Paraffin's made from a petroleum product, and a soy is made from a soybean. If you color it and you spray it on something cold, now keep this in mind, because I'm going to show you some other techniques too. If you just stick around, I'm going to show you. That's the bonus for sticking with me and listening to me babble on. I'm going to show you how this stuff is made, how you can make it yourself, and how you can use it in your candles. So you're going to take we're going to take this one because it had the least amount in it, and it's still not. These have to set. I don't want to mess with my phone either. It fits in here. I was like, whew! We're going to give it a stir. We're going to stir it up. I'm in my apron on, so I'm going to try not to get this all over. It's a little, it's not so flyaway anymore, but it's still, if you've ever worked with wax that comes in like the pellet form, it can get like crazy all over the place. It's just like sand. But because this is wet, we don't want it to dry out. What we want to do it smells really good too. It smells laundry fresh. Poor floor. Okay, so got a little at the bottom, but that's okay. I'll bring it over to the camera so you can see. Now that we've stirred it with the spatula, see how that's mixed in? It's still some at the bottom. As you stir that in and let it sit, now you've got this consistency that's just like sand. Once this is dry and absorbed as much as it possibly can, then you have your candle sand. And this is fragranced. You can use any fragrance you want. I'm just using the fragrance oil that I have that I like. Doesn't matter. You can use vanilla. I try not, I try to do the jars. We'll make some candles with sand art, and I'll show you what to do. You can still make candles with this wet like this. It doesn't have to be 100%. Now you don't need jars. You don't need a roaster. You don't need a double boiler. You don't need. It's a good thing I got a carpet down here. You don't need any of that. So we haven't heated anything up. This can be a little more challenging. That one I did first. uh, the orange one is going to be a little difficult. I might have to put it in something, stir it, and then put it back in there. Because it's a little bit more than what I should have put in that jar. But I'm just taking the spatula. And if you see that you're not getting the right color that you want, you can add to it. You can try, if you want, to do this unscented. You can try to do just the colorant itself. I'm just going to warn you that it's going to be a little difficult because the getting it mixed is going to be a little challenging. I would imagine it's possible. You're going to need to take some patience with you. This is not too bad. This, I think, has had, 12 in it. I don't remember what we did for the red. But my arm's getting tired. And I did these in jars because I don't like doing a lot of dirtying up a lot of dishes, especially with this kind of stuff. You know, you gotta, everything you do, you gotta clean. You can't, you know, it's not like regular dishes where you just throw in the dishwasher. So we're gonna let this, it'll probably, you know, some candles take a week to absorb all the fragrance oil. Sometimes when you make candles and you see the oil come to the top, if you wait and let that cure for a week, what's happening in the curing process is the wax is absorbing the oil. See, there's still a lot on the bottom on here. It's red. Orange? I don't know, man. This is the fullest one. This is the 16-ounce full pound. Not a lot of room in there to stir, so keep that in mind. You might want to do 12 ounces. If you do 12 ounces, and I'll put that in the blog post, because sometimes the candle math is a little difficult, especially when you know the para soy blend. If you want to do this with a carrier oil, you want to be able, maybe later on, add fragrance. If you don't make room for that, you won't be able to scent it. But you can absolutely make candles out of this. If you wanted to, you could take and make this candle sand. You can sell strictly candle sand. This is very hard to stir this way, but we're doing it. The spatula is really good because it's scraping the sides, but I'm trying not to come out the top here. Very easy to do. You could sell the candle sand if you wanted to at fairs or vendor shows. You don't need to heat anything up. You could, you know, if people wanted, I'll show you how to make candles out of it. It's not hard. You know, if you got a pre-wicked, you could sell the wick with a adhesive tab on it to go with it. Most people don't buy. This is hard to stir. Keep that in mind. 16 ounces is a bit for this jar. I mean, the bigger the jar, the better. And we kind of want to stir it though because, dang it, I hate to take it out of the container, stir it, but I think I'm going to have to. Because it's just not, you don't want some of the wax to be, well, I guess it doesn't really matter, but some of the wax to have a better stain. You could do, I guess you could do it this way too. And then just put it in the jar. I didn't want to dirty up dishes. There's always, you know, more than one way to do something. It's got to sit in the jar anyway. So I guess I should take a picture and put this on there too. You want it to be, there was not enough room in this jar to stir it properly. But you can, as you can see, stir it. See, now I'm going to clean it. That's okay. You stir it. And let me show you. And it's got a wet texture to it though too. I mean, you have to give the wax. You got to give the wax time to absorb all what you just put in there. And you can use vegetable oil. You can use any lightweight oil. Not everybody has, you know, everything to, I mean, I got all kinds of dishes and crap. But like I said, it's still like a wet consistency when you're actually working with it and doing it as a, you know, making a sand candle. You want it to be dry. I love these containers too. These, oh come on. I get these at the Dollar Tree. They're accurate, more accurate than any pitcher that I've bought. And they're cheap. But this does have to sit, it has to cure. I would say, well, we'll come back and we'll look at it again in a week minimum. We'll have to check on it. I'm doing this wrong here, wrong hand. Because it is sticking to the container. Because it's still wet. You have to give it time to dry and evaporate. If it doesn't, I would say after two weeks, if it hasn't, what it has not absorbed, it's not going to absorb. You'll have to put it on a pan and let the fragrance oil evaporate a little bit. The fragrance will still be there, but it doesn't really matter. It's probably not that big of a deal. It's not that wet, but see, it's still got a wet consistency. I put it in here because I really didn't want to wash. I was being lazy, but that's okay. Because now I have dishes to wash. And even though that this packs in here, it won't stay that way. Unless it gets too hot. You know, I mean, it's got to be like 100. This melts at what, 130 degrees or something, so. That's why I put them in the jars instead of doing the whole container. Because now, to do another one, I'd have to wash this. do another color. At least it's all the same fragrance. But as you can see, the jars are just as easy. I got a little dish pan over here that I put my stuff in. That's not a big deal. It's fun. It's fun. And it's still got, you know, it's, you're going to have to come back and stir them, shake them, give the wax some time. We're going to do the yellow. It also helps to have wide mouth jars. These were just jars that I had. I actually have wide mouth jars that I was going to do this in and didn't do it because I knew I was going to have to stir. But that's okay. The shoulder of the spatula here gets up in the corner. I just don't want to get it on me. I have my apron on. My apron's hanging up, so. I got 3 of them. And here's the yellow. I can still hear these beans dropping. Remember yellow, yellow and blue make green. So guess what color I'm doing next? Ha! There's my yellow. My yellow. Jeez, that's a lot on the top. I just know that I'm going to stain my shirt. And this is done if you want to do like an ocean view or an ocean scene or something like that. Some sand art. Remember when you were a kid you used to do sand art? You could do that. Only as a candle. You can mix it with some white, create some waves. You can make darker blues. You could really do a whole lot. You could do a whole line of candles and art. You know, if you wanted a candle that was swirly or different, people are always trying to get a swirly looking candle. And you could do it this way as well. because I'm gonna, once this is cured, we're gonna make candles. But today's all about prepping. You got to do this ahead of time. If you want to make sand candle, you can't. I guess you could, but today would not be the day to use that. We don't want. What'll happen is the colors will bleed. Like I said, yellow and blue make green. So if you were trying to do, say, an underwater scene with this in your artwork, the colors would bleed. So we got one more. We got our green to do. You can mix the colors and stuff too, however you want. If you wanted to do, you know, muted colors, we didn't do. I can grab some more. I got some jars. I got 2 closets full of jars in the other room. You could do black and brown, but I wanted to show you. Kind of getting tired, starving. We've been doing this all day, bath bombs and this, and cleaning up, and you know, if you wanted to take like the green and make like seaweed, and then put blue on it and make some waves with the white. You know, white's just plain old, you know, beads. You know, make a label. I'll even show you where I get the exact ones that I use. You can order online. Just remember that when you're buying wax, shipping is expensive. If you buy, you know, like a case of it, it gets heavy. But you don't need a case. This is like, you know, a 5-pound bag can make easily 6 colors. The green could be a little darker. I do have hunter green, I guess, that I could have used. But that's okay. And you want to make sure that your stuff is put up and labeled, because this one in particular, because it smells like fresh. It smells like laundry soap. Somebody could mistake it for laundry soap. That would not be good. So make sure your crafts are kept up. We're going to call this candle sand. And that's what it is. It's candle sand. This is the green. There you go. So like I said, it's going to sit. And come back every day and stir it. It's a mess. Let it absorb. I mean, that's 5 pounds right there. So that, you know, it can make a lot of candles. We'll come back. I got some short jars. We can make we can do purple. I'll have to make some more, I guess. I kind of need purple. But that's what I had going on. Look this up. So, I hope you enjoyed hanging out with me today. I'd like to see your creations if you make the candle sand. That's kind of, you know, where I was at. Maybe I'll pick up tomorrow. There's some other ideas I want to do. Today I had to clean up, so it was just hanging out and clean up. You can't make sand candles till this is ready. Like I said, I guess you could. It's not really ready yet, so I want to do that. But thanks again for hanging out. It's almost 5 o'clock. I'm starving, and we'll hang out some more.